Okay, trying to do with just the bits and pieces I either have or can find locally. The first stab at a rainwater harvesting system for a small garden. Now, the concepts that I'm trying to use as close as possible are from a rainwater harvesting class that I'm about 2/3 the way through, 2/3, 3/4 through. It's put on by Verge Permaculture out of Canada, Rob and Michelle Avis. And it's mainly Michelle Avis and being co-taught by a professor out of Australia named Dr. Peter Coombs, Coombees, I believe. And in Australia, a large number of people, as in the millions, according to him anyway, use rainwater harvesting for the majority, if not all, water uses within and without the house. So that includes drinking as well as bathing, cooking, washing, gardening, you name it. If there's water in the house, they get it from rainwater harvesting. And there's not a great, pandemic of illnesses from this. Water's water. But anyway, so basically taking the existing gutters on this house, which the roof and the gutters need to be redone anyway. I'm hoping, this is my parents' house, I'm hoping at some point he'll get a new roof, and as a part of that we'll be able to redo the gutters in a little bit different way. But in any case, it is an asphalt roof. It does have gutter guards of some type. They're basically a solid piece of aluminum on the top with little vents cut in it, almost like the louvers that were cut on the hoods of cars, hot rod cars back in the 50s and 60s. So it's a sheet of metal with some louvers on it is the version of the gutter guards that's on this. The downspout is a 3-inch round downspout punched into it. And then I just went to Home Depot because I need to go at odd angles and compound angles. I'm not going just 90 degrees back to the house and straight down. I've got to do some interesting curves. So I'm just using some of this flexible stuff. I don't like it. I don't like the way it looks. I don't think it's, I don't like the ridges in it. It's janky as hell, but it's what I got right now just for a proof of concept. So anyway, I've got that. A couple of screws up there. I've repurposed one of the mounts that held the previous gutter on to help hold some of the weight up. I've got a single screw holding that corner so that's fairly solid, and it is going into this leaf guard, this leaf diverter, and this is from Australia. This is the one that Dr. Coombs specifically says he has had the best luck with. It's not overly complicated. Nobody's tried to over-engineer it and stuff like that. I actually got 3 of them. So first you've got a grate here that most of any leaves or anything larger particulate matter, when it comes out, is going to hit and hopefully shed off. The other thing it does, and it's really probably not going to do it as much in this setup, there's another effect that happens, and it's probably more pronounced when you've got the gutter coming straight down, and preferably a round, like PVC, perfectly round gutter, rather than one of these ripply things or one of these kind of oblong or square or rectangular tops. Water, when it's coming down, just like when it's in your sink or in your toilet, if you notice when you flush or when you start draining, it doesn't go straight out. It's not a stream. It goes round and round in a vortex. So as it's coming down and it's picking up a little bit of head pressure and that vortex, it hits this mesh, and that change in velocity, according to him and his research, I'm still trying to find the specific papers to read, may or may not understand them, but according to his research and what he says, that change in velocity onto this first screen actually has an effect. It will actually kill some bacteria. It also slows it down so that particulate matter will drop out of the suspension a little bit better. So this is the bigger one. Now there is a secondary screen, and this first one, there's just a clip on each side. You pop that out and you can pull this out to get to the other screen or to replace it. Secondary screen is for the finer sediments, and also definitely for the bugs, to keep the mosquitoes out, or as they say in Australia, apparently the mozzies. So that's a mozzie screen, or mosquito screen, bug screen, and that can be lifted out and cleaned. Now the reason I have this right about my head level, even though it's not what would be aesthetically more appealing, in fact it probably later in the system under the deck would look a whole lot better, but the whole purpose of keeping it here, and what really makes this effective, is the fact that you maintain it. You know, if it's up someplace where you can't see and it gets stopped up, it's going to quit working, but you don't know that unless you're getting on a ladder constantly to look at it. So when it's new, when it's clean, it will work. When it is stopped up or something, it will not, but you don't know that unless you're frequently taking a look at it and maintaining it. So I've got this right about head high where I can come up here and I can see that. Then it's a 3-inch round fitting coming out, so I was able to find some, again, flexible stuff, a couple different ones to kind of transition it down to a piece of the rectangular downspout. What was on the house previously is the same thing, but the larger size. This is the smaller size, and the reason I went with that is here's where the previous one went. So to get it through the deck, there needed to be a hole. I wanted to cut as small a hole as possible. You'll notice that it is at an angle. It's not going straight down the house, and that is for a reason, which I'll show you. So this is, yes, it is janky as crap. I would rather have round PVC. I could be able to make those angles much cleaner, much better, but right now the PVC that's at the Home Depot and Lowe's and stuff like that, I need to do some research to see whether it is for potable water or not. The reason I want to make sure that it's for potable water is, you know, right now we're not planning on using this water as potable water, but hey, if I've got a tank full of water and the water system goes kaput, water's water, and you know, we need to be able to filter it and use it. And some PVC either has lead in the process of making it, or at least when they're extruding it, they may go through a lead-based or lead-containing extruder, which puts some lead into the PVC, which you do not want in any water that could considerably or could possibly be either potable, and I would rather not even put it on food gardening, you know, edible landscape, edible gardening kind of things. I want to keep the lead out, so I need to make sure that if I redo this, or if we do more of this around the house or anywhere else, I would like to use the PVC, but I need to make sure I'm sourcing safe PVC and not potentially lead containing PVC. But this is proof of concept, so there's what it looks like at that point. Now we'll go down and see what's under the deck. Now previously, the downspout, like I said, went through that hole, came out under the deck and directly onto the ground right here, without really having a spout bringing it well away from the foundation. It actually stopped right next to the foundation, next to this little retaining wall, and so all the water would come down here. I don't think that's a good design. Most of the gutters on this house are like that. They are not really removing the water well away from the foundation. That needs to change. So once it comes through the deck, I repurposed again another bracket to hold that piece of rectangular gutter downspout so that it won't wobble around too much. Had a couple more of these flexible brown ones. I've got them screwed together and all that, and it's coming directly into the top of an IBC tote. Now there is another piece of screen right here with a hose clamp keeping it on. This is your basic aluminum screen that you would use on windows or doors or anything to keep the bugs out. So about 1 millimeter screening. You know, it's not going to keep dust out. It's not going to keep anything smaller than 1 millimeter out, but it will keep the mosquitoes out, and it's just a last little filter or screen before going into the tank. This is as recommended by Dr. Coombs in this Verge Permaculture Rainwater Harvesting, their book and their online course. The tank that I'm using is an IBC tote. In its initial life, it contained vegetable oil, cooking oil. So it was food grade. I mean, all the IBC totes are food grade material unless and until something other than, some chemical or non-food safe product is put into it, some kind of agricultural chemical or anything like that. This one had vegetable oil in it. I've had it for a while. I cleaned it out. I did put, like one point in time, I put a bunch of detergent in there, cleaned all that out. I actually took a pressure washer wand and cleaned it all out as best I could. It has been sitting for a few months. I filled it up with regular tap water and dumped about a gallon of chlorine or Clorox into it, and then covered the top up with plastic so it would not evaporate out, and just let that sit, because I didn't know when I was going to get to it, but I wanted to make sure that no algae or anything started growing in it from then. So it sat out for several months full of water. Nothing grew in it, so it's going to be about as clean as possible. Any chlorine residual is well gone, evaporated off and stuff like that. I do not have it covered. I do not have it painted. I do not plan on doing any of that because, again, according to this course, and this is a test case for me, kind of testing what they're saying, the theory is the water coming off the roof, and really, for the most part, most modern materials that are used on roofs, he said, do not significantly differ in the end use quality of the water. So whether it's galvanized, whether it is the baked on enamel metal roofing, whether it is asphalt, or as they say, asphalt roofing, with a few exceptions, most modern common roofing materials do not significantly impact the end water quality if the rest of the system is designed and implemented correctly. The theory is that there is a treatment train from the time the water hits the roof to the time that you use it at the tap or the hose or wherever your end use is, that the entire treatment train, not any individual component, material, or anything, is cleaning the water all the way through, and you do what you need to make it appropriate for the end use. So for gardening use, it does not need to be near as clean as it needs to be for drinking, for drinking water. If you're going to be using it for washing a car or flushing a toilet, it does not need to be near as clean, quote, as for drinking. So we're not cleaning any of the water more than it's needed to be cleaned for that use. If this water was being used for the garden, as well as for flushing a toilet, as well as for drinking, then at the point of the drinking faucet, that's where you would put your final filtration to make sure that is the safest water in the whole system. But you're not cleaning to that degree every single drop just to be, pouring it out on the ground. Part of that treatment train is the biology in the system. This is, in their words, a bioreactor. It is the life, not the materials that it's made of, but the life in it is what does the cleaning. So there will be a biofilm on the interior surface of this water tank, all the way up and down. There will be a very thin layer of life, a biofilm, on the surface of the water, and there will be an increasingly thick layer at the very bottom, which is commonly called sludge. So there is living bacteria and stuff in all of that, and that bacteria is going to be eating any nutrients that come in with each flush of water. However, since the water coming off of the roof, especially since it's been through a leaf diverter and 2 different screens, the nutrients that are in that water, especially over the course of an extended rainfall, are going to be very, very low. So just like in any biological system, if you have a lot of critters that are hungry and there's not a whole lot of food, they're going to eat all that food up pretty quick, and then the population is going to balance out to the food supply. Well, when they're eating all that food, all those nutrients, that is cleaning the water. And since there's only so much nutrient and the population will get leveled out by that, then the amount of biology in this floating free in the water cannot get excessive. There's not enough food and nutrition to support an excessive population, unless there's something wrong upstream that is causing too much nutrition to come in there for whatever reason. Also, any particulate matter, especially heavy metals, things of that nature, since this water is not getting churned up constantly, the vast majority of the time it is sitting still, anything that's heavier than the water will eventually settle to the bottom. It's called flocculation. That bottom layer, anything that touches the side, that biofilm is sticky, it will hold it. The bottom, especially as it gets thicker and thicker, is very, very sticky with a lot of polysaccharides. So again, any biology down there, any heavy metals, any sediments, anything like that that comes in contact with the bottom of it is going to get stuck into that, basically that sticky trap on the bottom. You don't want to stir that up. So the inlet for the water, or the outlet for the water, does not need to be sucking from right off the bottom. It needs to be about 3 or 4 inches up from the top, or that way, as that sludge layer grows and builds, you're taking water out of the system high enough above it that you're not going to be sucking it in or otherwise disturbing it. That is part of the treatment train. I've still got to do the outflow piping and an overflow. This does not have an overflow in it right now. My goal, or my thought, is to take the fitting that would be coming out. I've got one that clamps on there. You can put a water hose on, but I want to put one and then put a piece of PVC coming up, and then right about where the highest point is, right about here, probably put like a 180 on it of some nature, and again some screening on that so bugs, mosquitoes, anything like that can't get into it and contaminate the water, or you start using it for breeding. But that would be the overflow, and then maybe some way for that to go away from the foundation. So I've still got to do the outflow. And in order to keep the outlet high enough, I may actually put another brick or piece of board on this side of it and tilt it up so that the low point will be back here, and I'll be sure that that's the water going out is higher than what that sludge layer will be, because I can't get inside of it to do another kind of outflow. There is no quieting device on this, so the water is literally just dumping into the top. I don't have a pipe that's going down and then like angled up like you see in a lot of drawings. Again, the really keep it simple, stupid version, and the minimal components that Dr. Coombs and Verge Permaculture at this moment are suggesting. I am doing a minimalist system. They say these are the things that you need to have in it. Anything more than that is either unnecessary, makes very little difference, or is just a kind of a nice to have, but definitely not required. And they're even in some places using it all the way up to potable level. Now this system can be expanded, so I can always get more IBC totes and just line them up and do it that way. And actually, if I did that in a way where they were, let's say I had 2 of them, had another one exactly the same level, they were tied in at the bottom, I had the overflow here, water would come in, I could probably take the water out of this one, and this would actually be an additional settling tank that could even be, improve the system a little bit. But I'm using what I already had and a few other bits and bobs to give this a try. We do have, obviously, rains coming up. We've got another couple of nights of freezing, so I'm going to leave the valve closed at the moment. If we get any rain, I'll be able to calculate how much we're getting into it, but I'll make sure and open it before it gets to be freezing again. This will be a warm weather system only, so that it will not be operating during the winter, because I have no way of keeping it from freezing and busting, either the IBC or any other piping that may be going to it. It's 275 gallon. obviously I'm not going to get a full 275 because I'll have the overflow lower than the top, and then we won't be sucking it all the way dry. So, you know, probably 225 to 250 might be the working gallonage of this system. And what it will be used for, if it does in fact work, is down in that corner. I'm starting a little garden for my mom, just some tomatoes in buckets or something of that nature, and I'm going to use this water to for that garden, and maybe along the fence line down the lower area where it gets a little bit more sun, expand their garden a little bit. And that's what this will be used for, as well as just learning. Whew. Okay, if you still watching, and if any of that made sense to you, go ahead, like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. I'm not really trying to make money off of this or become a major YouTuber, just trying to share.